好，我们现在趣味问答，没有电的。是哪位工匠担任总工程师，并说他已经被神的灵充满？
以色列，还有亚和利亚。不要忘分字。
还有一个他的同工，这都不知道啊。亚和利亚亚伯，他是蛋的，他是他的同工。在哪一个支派写出来？当天摩西审判了3000名百姓，他下山有弄金牛犊。
利未，太长。
利未啊，
一等在那边练习。
摩西在营外搭起一个帐篷，他称它为什么？
会。
有一个摩西和上帝说话的时候，圣经形容他们像什么关系？
朋友。
还有谁说？
还有谁？
真的啊，他好像与朋友说话一样。其实我每天的灵修祷告，跟神也是应该是像朋友一样在那里说话的，没有，因为耶稣他在升天以前为他的门徒祷告的时候，他说：“以后你不再是我的仆人，而是我的朋友。”你可以想象，在摩西那时候，他跟神对话的时候，就像朋友的关系。那现在我们接受了主耶稣基督成我们的救主以后，在他离开世上的时候，他也说了一句话，就是说我们不再是仆人，而是朋友。所以现在对我们来讲，我们跟神跟耶稣在祷告的时候，也算是应该是以朋友相称的，要有这种真的是一个非常不同的一个关系。建造会幕的物资奉献的标准是什么？对了，心甘情愿的啊，凡乐意奉献的都有啊。上帝将摩西藏在什么地方？他用手盖着他，让他只能看见神的背影。磐石呢，还是一个洞里面？是不是？磐石穴中，他再把它摆在这个穴，然后打住他，他只能看到他从他前面过去了，他只能看到他的背影。在31章提到2块法板，是谁写的？神写的，对。后来呢，是谁写的？后来神叫谁？叫摩西，你自己写。
没有，他找这个
有的叫他自己写。对，写。不对不起，是找，然后神写了十诫，神写了10诫的。只是他是那个板，他要摩西自己去造。对不起，我搞错了，不是我搞错，故意试探的。上帝用指头写的啊。宣告他名提到几次，他的慈爱发动到几代？
万代。
万代的，千代太少了哈，万代比较多一点，跟那个皇帝要万万岁的一样，不能千岁。 第35章摩西提到的安息日当天，连哪种日常的生活都不可以在住处进行。国弟兄应该知道，
生活
对，他来问过我这个问题，不可生活。来，鼓励一下。这对他们来讲是不能做任何工。可是后来呢，法利赛人就用这一件事情来用他们的口头传述定了这个条约，什么事都不能做，在安息日。所以那时候耶稣来到世上，在安息日治医病赶鬼，那法利赛人就想要把他除掉，因为他没有遵守律法，因为律法是在这些。可是那法利赛人把他就是完全就是延伸到非常多，他定了大概我不记得是几百条吧，安息日不能做的事情。就是说，你连走路能走多远，超过那个数字就算犯罪。所以他们怎么做呢？量一根绳子，很长的绳子，就那个步数的那个绳子，然后绑在腰间，只要它不超过那个范围，它就不算犯罪。你想想看，这个没有错，这个不能生活。所以你到以色列的时候，如果说有人去以色列玩，他们在星期五晚上，然后到第二天都不能生活，然后餐厅也不开的啊。然后即使你坐电梯的话，它所有的那个楼层呢都已经是亮的，也不能用手去按的。对，你上下，它每一层都停啊，所以他们就已经有点过头了在这里。可是对我们来讲并没有这，我们安息日，犹太人的安息日是从礼拜五晚上到礼拜六晚上，就下午到下午。他们算一天的日子，跟我们算的不是24小时，从半夜12点到第二天的12点这样算，他们是24小时，他们是从下午5、6点钟日落以前算他们的一天的开始，到第二天的日落那时候就算一天完了。所以你在算耶稣他被钉死十字架的时候，他是星期四晚上的逾越节，吃完了以后，他到哥西玛丽园的时候被逮，然后送到大祭司家去审判，定他死罪。然后第二天早上，星期五的早上送到以拉多的巡抚，定了他死罪，定十字架。所以早上9点定十字架，然后到下午3点钟，整个天都死掉。然后那天晚上，那个叫约瑟，他是有钱的议会的会员，议员他把他领了下来安葬，然后他们就说，因为是安息日，他们不能做了，就把石头封了。然后那些妇女回去要到第7日的早上，他才要去膏耶稣的尸体。第7日早上就是星期天，那他膏的时候，他发现耶稣不在那里，耶稣复活了，所以星期天就开始称为什么？主日。是这样子的，因为他说我们就说主日就这样，所以我们的主日敬拜是变成第一天开始。所以在西方的日历来讲的话，这个星期天是主日第一天，这算是第一天。可是，在我们东方，为什么说星期一？常常我们会搞错，就星期一是第一天。其实，在这个在基督教里面讲的不是一样，不太一样。所以有时候我们要了解，就是星期一并不是在这个不是第一天，而是主日是第一天。那我们主日来敬拜神，是因为是纪念神、荣耀神不是因为安息日。所以安息日对我们基督徒应该是没有这个限制。但是在安息日的目的，并不是说让你完完全全躺平在那里，而是纪念神。所以我们主日来也是纪念神。所以在这时候就是全心全意来纪念神。不能有其他的事情。所以这个安息日跟主日，虽然我们没有安息日，但是我们主日也应该用一样的心态来纪念神，来荣耀神。这是一个问题，不是说什么事不能做。其实在早以前，在美国的东西部的时候，他们有一个怎么讲？他们有一个习俗，不是习俗，有个规定。 礼拜天是不能开的，星期天主日是不能开店的啊。然后他们是有一个叫圣经带，从中西部有个圣经带，他们是读圣经读得很好，这边啊，在中西部的时候，像俄亥俄周围是到南边到北边这个圣经带，但现在就已经慢慢衰退了。那时候呢，店不能开，主日是绝对不能开店，都是绝对是休息的，店都要休息的，然后是敬拜神。可是后来慢慢就没有了。那后来他改了什么？反正你卖烟酒的那天是不能卖，卖酒的那天是不能卖的啊。后来呢，也开放，现在是根本无所谓，你不来教会也无所谓。对，所以这个事情就是在我们的纪念神的时候，主日还是一个非常重要的日子。来，我不是说我显现我是一个基督徒，而是你还是荣耀神的，这是一个不同的地方。那今天我们看37章到40章，就是把出埃及记看完。那下个星期开始，我们要读利未记。那我想说，在下一次的时候再跟大家分享利未记。我想今天把这个出埃及记做个结论，我们可以看得到有哪些事情。整卷书是拯救律法，还有这个有关建造和居住啊，神到他们中间，记录百姓如何将神颁布的蓝图一步一步转为地上的圣所，然后来迎接神的荣耀的降临。所以神最后来的时候，这个云柱都挂满这个遮盖整个圣所这个。37章主要是讲这圣所还有至圣所里面的用品清祭。然后38讲到外院的铜器，然后讲到他们财务上怎么管理。第39章讲到祭司的衣服穿着是什么样的。最后第40章是立了神的墓，然后荣耀的降临。所以讲到这个很顺，他们对这个非常的顺服，然后呢，把这个所讲的这些话呢，把它造成了事实。所以我们在读的时候，好像是完全有重复，从25章就开始重复，就是一步一步讲。可是你也想到，他照这些事情，他的顺序跟25章讲的顺序不一样。我跟大家提过，他在神讲这些告诉摩西这些事情的时候，他是从至圣所、圣所，然后至圣所里面的，然后一直往外走，然后往外的界讲了要如何建造这个。他建造的时候呢，是从外往内，然后最后才借着祭司的衣服。所以在这里是有一点不太一样的顺序不一样。可是其实讲起来也是非常正常的事情。当你盖好以后，才能把东西摆进去。如果你先把造好的东西摆在外面，不过他后来还是搬进去的。所以这是有一个在属灵上来讲的话，我们要从内往外。啊，但我们在建造的时候，就是说我们要从外表里面，然后慢慢圣洁起来。至圣所约柜和施恩座都是用这个木然后外包金。今天我会很快，但是我会给大家看一些影片啊，所以我这些我就不太再讲了，因为其实我们前面已经介绍过，说至圣所圣所陈设饼要包金，然后金牙边，然后有盘子，全部都用金的。如果说你有这个，等一下你看第39章的时候，有新译本的可以翻到，你看我们在和合本就把说几个他连德。如果说呢有新译本的弟兄，你可以翻到39章，你看他把它完全的重量翻出来，以现在的度量衡来说，譬如说黄金是1000公斤，那是多少？1吨。然后金灯台也讲到要锤一个枝子锤出来的，然后圣所的金牌圣油怎么样做，都讲得非常的清楚。在这里主要讲到这4件东西呢，是基督的预表。约柜预表耶稣是神与人相会的地方，桌子是表示生命的粮，它那个陈设饼，那个饼是12个支派，有12个块饼摆在上面，是12个支派的意义。灯台表示耶稣是世界的光，来引导生命。香坛是 预表耶稣要做大祭司，为人不住的为我们代求。然后木和金的结合呢，灯台是金金，其余器的都是用木然后包金，这象征着基督的两个是木头是人性，要受苦谦卑，金金表示耶稣的神性在这里。所以在这里可以看到木头跟金子它有它的表现在那里，它的意义是什么？这个可以自己去看一下基路伯、金金灯台，然后都是要连一块金子锤出来的，而不是说把它组合起来，像我们现在用焊接的或什么螺丝给它起。我不知道你们有在外面买的家具回来要找螺丝把它全部安装起来，有没有？常常会少的，哎，怎么会多一个螺丝出来？重新拆再找再重新安装，对，所以这是香料呢是用升高油用的，人不能随便做的。那38章继续讲到铜器，现在讲到外面做的东西，所以看到就是从圣洁的往外做服饰的时候，铜是不一样的东西。那进入圣殿或者进入与神同在的地方是要经过祭坛。那服侍人呢，也讲到他们如何计算这些财物，他们怎么样分配这些东西。外面的器具铜祭坛，那也是用皂荚木做，然后用铜正方形的，所有的用具都是铜做的。洗涤的预备也是铜洗涤盆也是一样，也是用铜那这里讲到一个非常有意思的意思，说他这个洗涤城呢是用会幕门前侍候妇人的镜子，他的镜子就是他们从以色列出来的时候，所有妇人给他的。那镜子原来是照自己的，那现在把它放弃，不要看自己，要看神，把它拿出来做成祭坛，在神的面前奉献。所以等于说放弃自己的荣耀来彰显神的荣耀。这是有一个意义在的。为什么是用妇人的铜器来做？是有这个意义在的，可以自己去思考一下这个问题。然后，所以他一定要用手脚来洗干净才能进去。东西南北，先问一个问题：他造圣所、造这个会幕的时候，面向哪？
东。
所以当你读到经文的时候，说后面的时候呢，是西面；南边的时候呢，是南方、北方，这是非人。所以你在读到说有后面的时候，在后面做些什么事情，那是西面。所有的圣都是朝东的。你现在的圣殿，他们造圣殿也是朝东的，所以这是有个意义在哪？神他朝东的时候，那个圣殿是朝东，面对是哪里？橄榄山。耶稣从哪里升天的？橄榄山。他才说他要从同一个地方下来，他所面对的圣殿在橄榄山东边，他看到是那个圣殿朝东边，但是现在的圣殿的门是封闭的，全部被粘起来了。去看现在那废墟那个圣殿是那个东门是关闭的，对神来说他会打开。然后他继续讲到，所以他们认知所有的事情都有一个人来管理。然后呢，金子的总数是29，他连得有70，银子的数目是这样。所以如果说你们等一下可以看的话把第38章这几节经节呢，21、31，等一下可以看一下它的数量是多少，非常惊人，金子、银子、铜都是非常的数量。唯一的是经过祭坛，所以经过铜祭坛以后才能够接近神，所以得表示一个自我牺牲。所以把铜镜子拿出来烧成这个，也是表示我不要再顾到自己，而是顾到神的事。透明度，你可以想象到当时有多少金子、银子这些贵重金属的时候，他们都是完完全全的交出来，并没有任何人做。你像我们现在市场包工怎么样？上面包的。然后下来一层一层一层，真正到了小包工拿到手上，并没有多少人，中间都有人。可是在这里没有，从工头到的，大家都是很经常在神的面前做事情。所以在这时候，我们在 要考虑到我们在职场上在服侍神的上面的话，要注意到一件事情，我们服侍神真的是要忠心的服侍。我们在职场上做事的时候是为神做事，不是为神。你所做的事情让人家能够看见你是基督徒，那才是活出基督的样子。不是说今天老板没看到我就打个瞌睡今天老板不在我就花个手屏花个视频，然后不是这样。所以在这里可以看到属灵的实在是要有一个负责的事情，而且摩西是个领袖，他把责任完全交给他底下做工，他没有去管，而那些人都是兢兢业业照神的话去做。39章讲到穿戴讲到他要穿什么衣服，都在这里面讲得清楚了。这以佛德，然后胸牌有4排，每排的都有讲到这个以色列12，所以它的宝石也是12个宝石，也是以这个以色列的12块来应对的。外袍杂项的衣物都讲得非常清楚。这里讲了一个非常有意思，就是石榴和金铃铛要穿在外袍上面。石榴在当时应该算是一个生命，所以你去打那个石榴里面的籽子我查过，我忘记是多少，每个是不管是大大小小，里面的那个籽都是一样的数字。你可以查一下那个石榴，
这么大也一样，这么小
你可以查一下，都是一样的数字，所以是有代表生命在那里。然后这个铃铛呢，我听过这个铃铛。他们进去敬拜的时候，1年1次只能大祭司进去了。那他走路一定有声音的嘛？铃铛会响。那如果说没有声音的时候呢？
被神击杀了，把它拖出来。
对，还要绑个绳子，要把它拖出来，那个平常不能进去。所以有这种说法所以铃铛是有的。金牌，这是一个非常有意思的，刻着归耶和华为圣，挂在头上。金是群金打造，然后刻成这个上面是归耶和华为圣，所以他祭司进去的时候绝对是圣洁的，因为他把自己献出来是一个。所以完成工作也有所有的幕业都交给摩西，摩西在他面前，你要把他都照着一切的工都完成了。所以披戴神的荣耀的时候，讲的圣衣就是让有这个神的荣耀在那里。那我们是新约时代的时候，也要披戴主耶稣基督。所以你在众人世人面前的时候，人能够看出你是耶稣的门徒或是基督徒，这你已经做到荣耀神的目的。如果说人家看到你也没有什么感受的话，你就说你还是普普通通的人，这是一个要思考的。另外一个完全的束缚。所有在你读的都是说，是照着耶和华吩咐摩西的，所有从开始做工都有这句话在里面，尤其这一章几乎提到7次是一种集体的顺服和神的经历，都是透过神告诉摩西，摩西就告诉这些做工的人，他们都照着摩西做，一点一滴一笔一画，所有的点点滴滴都照着去做的，完全的顺服。所以当神给我们祝福的时候，我们要回应这个神的恩典的时候是怎么样？完全的顺服，而不是有怀疑。为什么要我这样子1寸2寸这样去一个一点，还要释放，还要怎么样？这个都是非常一个重要的一个概念在那，就是顺服的概念。这里讲到圣衣是什么？一块金子锤成薄片，然后剪出线，那个线然后织在他的衣服上面。线是什么？是金子做的线，金子柔软性很好，他就穿上就做，所以等于说它是金细麻中交织，这是巧匠的工，这手要很巧的，一颗金子 不要讲说就一块纸一张纸，我们要把它剪得像一条细线一样，那是手要很巧的，不是普普通人能做到。可以想到神给他们的智慧有多少，那时候为了做这个圣所的东西。那金金冠冕挂在头上是归耶和华为圣，耶和华怎样吩咐他们就怎样做。摩西看了一切构成的，就给他们祝福，完全顺服神，得到的是神的祝福。40章，那40章就是出埃及记的结尾了，把所有的事情都安排。可以想到，他们出埃及以后，第2年的正月初一开始把会幕做起来，所以他出来1年把这个东西做好。所以按照位置祭司所做的事，全部都介绍了，然后神的荣耀充满了帐幕。可以想到，神不仅救赎他的百姓，更正式的搬进住在他们中间。今天我们的教堂，或是我们自己，你读了保罗的书信，我们就是神的殿。你心中有没有神住在里？所以从计划到完成，神的认可，所以宣告了整个神与人同在的一个宣告。所以40章读起来应该是满心感恩的，是看到神怎么样把这个做好的东西安放在，把会幕这填满造起来，等于是刚好1周年。安置的次序从内柜开始，从约柜开始，然后呢桌子椅子，那灯坛，然后在外面的祭坛。所以然后受膏的油，所有的受膏的油都要在所有的器皿上撒上，然后成为圣。然后连亚伦父子所穿的衣服受施洗都是要受膏的。摩西的完全的顺服，他执行是毫无差，所以经文上是照着耶和华吩咐他做的。所以摩西亲手立起木板等等等，然后完成各就各位了。然后神的云彩就下来了。所以当我们要建造自己的生命的时候，应该是属灵的生命是照神的来的，神怎么指示我们就怎么去做，完全照他吩咐。救赎的目的，出埃及开始把以色列人百姓在埃及受苦受难，然后呢，神最后居住在他们中间。他不只是让他们离开奴隶的生活，而是跟他同在。今天神拯救了我们，我们成为他的子民，成为他的儿女，成为基督徒。那我们是怎么样进入跟神同在的生活？那我们跟神同在的生活，我们生活是不是圣洁的？是不是得神喜悦的？这也是我们要思考的一个问题。那这关键经文都是照着做，然后摩西完工的。当时云彩盖了，然后耶和华荣耀充满了。日间耶和华的云彩是在帐幕上，夜间云中有火。以色列全家都在眼前，都在神的路上，完全的顺服。然后救赎的终点是将以色列人救出来，不是给予他们土地的自由，而是与他们同在。不错，神拯救了我们从罪赎奴隶的流出来，而不是我们的盼望是什么？是未来的得到永恒的生命或顶点。但是现在呢，神与你同在。他们在旷野漂流了40年，最后才进入迦南美地。在这40年中，他们的会幕就一直跟着他们。你想想看，我们现在的生命，我们要回天家或者看到神的时候是什么时候不知道，但是我们现在是活在与神同在的日子里面，这是一个我们要有感恩荣耀神的一个生活要能够活出来。所以荣耀等于说荣耀是审判，然后荣耀是保障。虽然神不喜悦不合他心意的事情，但是他也亲自带领他们。你可以看到，在继续读下去的时候，你可以看到以色列人是多么的叛逆，但神并没有离弃他们，反而把他们带到应许之地。所以思考了，不要只是在 大方正我生活上，但是在小的细节，在服侍神的时候，属灵生命更是要遵行神的服侍的时候，才都是一个透明。所以，一个属灵在金钱上是无可指责，能对人也对神交战。所以，基督徒你要记住，绝对在不管你是管理财务或做任何事情的时候，你是对人也对神负责。更重要的是，你对神负责。绝对不可以偷鸡摸狗，或是收贿赂、贪污这些事情，在神的眼里是完全不合旨意的。所以，我们每个服侍前一定要披戴耶稣基督。所以我们身份是属于神的，所以圣殿我们是属于神。那么这是一个会幕这样子围起来的样子，是这个样子。然后这是在它整个一个大览图，你可以看到中间，我这个坏掉了。中间的时候，这是圣所在中间，然后它的切坡图是这样这是放大的。这是什么？圆规，十人座，这是另外一个样子。这个是讲台，橙色扁的桌子，这是对，这是圣衣，他穿，你可以看到帽子，然后中间的牌子有宝石切割这个以色列人的种族，那底下是有铃铛跟石榴。我们来看等一下
Battery 100%. Connecting to Jesse's MacBook Air. Jesse's MacBook Air connected.
And thou shalt make the court of the tabernacle for the south side southward. There shall be hangings for the court of fine twined linen, of 100 cubits long for one side, and the 20 pillars thereof, and their 20 sockets shall be of brass. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets shall be of silver. And likewise for the north side in length there shall be hangings of 100 cubits long, and his 20 pillars, and their 20 sockets of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the breadth of the court on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. And the breadth of the court on the east side eastward shall be 50 cubits. The hangings of one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And on the other side shall be hangings 15 cubits. their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And for the gate of the court shall be an hanging of 20 cubits, of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen, wrought with needlework. And their pillars shall be 4, and their sockets 4. All the pillars round about the court shall be filleted with silver, their hooks shall be of silver, and their sockets of brass. And the length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the breadth 50 everywhere, and the height 5 cubits of fine twined linen, and their sockets of brass. All the vessels of the tabernacle in all the service thereof, and all the pins thereof, and all the pins of the court shall be of brass. And thou shalt make an altar of shittim wood, 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits broad. The altar shall be 4 square, and the height thereof shall be 3 cubits. And thou shalt make the horns of it upon the 4 corners thereof. His horns shall be of the same, and thou shalt overlay it with brass. And thou shalt make his pans to receive his ashes, and his shovels, and his basins, and his flesh hooks, and his fire pans. All the vessels thereof thou shalt make of brass. And thou shalt make for it a grate of network of brass. And upon the net shalt thou make 4 brazen rings in the 4 corners thereof. And thou shalt put it under the compass of the altar beneath, that the net may be even to the midst of the altar. And thou shalt make staves for the altar, staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with brass. And the staves shall be put into the rings, and the stave shall be upon the 2 sides of the altar, to bear it. Hollow with boards shalt thou make it, as it was showed thee in the mount, so shall they make it. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Thou shalt also make a laver of brass, and his foot also of brass, to wash withal. And thou shalt put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and thou shalt put water therein. For Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat. When they go into the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall wash with water, that they die not, or when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn offering made by fire unto the Lord. So they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they die not, and it shall be a statute forever to them, even to him and to his seed throughout their generations. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlestick be made, his shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knobs, and his flowers shall be of the same. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side. 3 bowls made like unto almonds, with a knob and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a knob and a flower, so in the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with their knobs and their flowers. And there shall be a knob under 2 branches of the same, and a knob under 2 branches of the same, and a knob under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick. Their knobs and their branches shall be of the same, all it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. And thou shalt make the 7 lamps thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof, that they may give light over against it. And the tongs thereof, and the snuff dishes thereof, shall be of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it, with all these vessels. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount. Thou shalt also make a table of shittim wood. 2 cubits shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, and make thereto a crown of gold round about. And thou shalt make unto it a border of an handbreadth round about, and thou shalt make a golden crown to the border thereof round about. And thou shalt make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are on the 4 feet thereof. Over against the border shall the rings be for the places of the staves, to bear the table. And thou shalt make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, that the table may be borne with them. And thou shalt make the dishes thereof, and the spoons thereof, and covers thereof, and bowls thereof, to cover withal, of pure gold shalt thou make them. And thou shalt set upon the table showbread before me always. And thou shalt make an altar to burn incense upon, of shittim wood shalt thou make it. A cubit shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof. 4 square shall it be, and 2 cubits shall be the height thereof. The horns thereof shall be of the same. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, the top thereof and the sides thereof round about, and the horns thereof. And thou shalt make unto it a crown of gold round about. And 2 golden rings shalt thou make to it under the crown of it, by the 2 corners thereof. Upon the 2 sides of it shalt thou make it, and they shall be for places for the staves to bear it withal. And thou shalt make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And thou shalt put it before the veil that is by the ark of the testimony, before the mercy seat that is over the testimony, where I will meet with thee. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning when he dresseth the lamps. He shall burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lighteth the lamps at even, he shall burn incense upon it, a perpetual incense before the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall offer no strange incense thereon, nor burnt sacrifice, nor meat offering, neither shall ye pour drink offering thereon. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once a year, with the blood of the sin offering of atonements. Once in the year shall he make atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is most holy unto the Lord.
我给你看一个，
Not a temple carved into a mountainside. A tent. A portable tent designed to be assembled, disassembled, and carried across a desert by hand. No blueprints on paper, no power tools, no factory-cut lumber. Just 600,000 former slaves standing in the wilderness with Egyptian gold and wood from desert trees. And here's the part that defies logic. This portable tent had to contain the actual presence of the creator of the universe. A presence so holy, so dangerous, that approaching it wrongly meant instant death. This is the tabernacle, the Mishkan, God's portable dwelling place. And what they built in that desert 3,400 years ago still baffles engineers today. The year was approximately 1450 BC. 14 months had passed since the night of Passover, since the Red Sea parted and Pharaoh's army drowned in the returning waters. Israel was free. But freedom raised a question no one had considered. God had delivered them with 10 plagues. He had walked with them as a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. But how does an infinite God stay with a finite people? How does the creator of galaxies travel with a nation of nomads?
We must move
The answer came from God Himself. A single command recorded in the book of Exodus. Let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them. This was not a human idea. God initiated this project. And when Moses climbed Mount Sinai, he didn't just receive the 10 Commandments. He spent 40 days receiving detailed construction plans. Every measurement, every material, every color, every technique. The instruction was absolute. Make it exactly according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. Moses didn't design this. He downloaded it, straight from the mind of God. But a blueprint means nothing without builders, so God handpicked 2 men by name. The first was Bezalel from the tribe of Judah. Scripture says he was filled with the Spirit of God in wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and all craftsmanship. He was the master of metalwork, woodwork, and stone cutting. The second was Oholiab from the tribe of Dan, an expert in textiles, embroidery, and engraving. Alongside them worked hundreds of wise-hearted men and women, skilled volunteers who gave their time and talent. And the materials? The gold and silver and bronze had been ripped from Egypt as back payment for 400 years of slavery. The women donated their bronze mirrors. The people gave so generously that Moses had to command them to stop. God had given the vision. He had appointed the workers. He had provided the resources. But one question hung over the project like the desert sun. Could human hands actually build a dwelling place for the Almighty? And if they succeeded, would He actually show up? Before the curtains, before the gold furnishings, before the holy objects. Someone had to solve an engineering problem that shouldn't have been solvable. How do you build a rigid structure, 45 feet long, 15 feet wide, 15 feet tall, that can be disassembled by hand, carried by Levites across the wilderness, and reassembled without power tools? Over and over again, for 40 years. The solution was a modular frame system unlike anything the ancient world had seen. The foundation of this frame was 48 boards cut from acacia wood. Acacia was the only tree stubborn enough to grow in the Sinai desert. Dense grain, twisted fibers, virtually rot-proof. Each board stood 10 cubits tall, roughly 15 feet, and 1.5 cubits wide, about 27 inches. And every single board was completely overlaid with gold. 20 boards formed the south wall, 20 more formed the north. 8 boards, including 2 special corner pieces, formed the back wall on the west. The east side remained open as the entrance, but here is where the engineering becomes remarkable. At the bottom of each board were 2 projections called tenons, and each tenon fit precisely into a socket made of solid silver. 100 sockets in total. Each socket weighed 1 talent, 75 pounds of pure silver. Do the math. That's 7,500 pounds of silver just for the foundation, nearly 4 tons. Why so much weight at the bottom? Physics. All that mass concentrated at ground level created a low center of gravity. When desert winds screamed across the camp, those 15-foot boards didn't budge. They couldn't. The weight held them fast. But the genius didn't stop there. 5 horizontal bars ran across each wall, threaded through gold rings attached to the boards. 4 of these bars were visible from the outside, but the 5th bar, called the middle bar, ran through the center of the boards themselves, inside the wood, an invisible spine holding everything together. You couldn't see it from outside, but without it, the walls would have buckled. Imagine the sound. The heavy thud of silver meeting sand, the scrape of gold-plated wood sliding into socket. 48 boards rising from the desert floor like golden walls materializing from nothing. And here's what most people miss. Those silver sockets came from the census ransom money. Every Israelite man had paid a half shekel to redeem his life. That silver was melted down and cast into the foundation. The entire structure literally stood on redemption. No board touched the ground directly. Every piece rested on the price paid for human souls. The skeleton was up. 48 golden boards standing on silver feet, locked together by hidden bars. But bones need skin. And what came next would transform this gleaming frame into something that looked, from the outside, almost ordinary. The tabernacle didn't have one roof, it had 4, layered on top of each other like skin over muscle over bone. Each layer served a physical purpose, but each layer also told a story. The innermost layer was the most beautiful thing in the entire structure. 10 curtains of fine twisted linen, woven with threads of blue, purple, and scarlet against brilliant white. But the linen wasn't just colored, it was embroidered. Cherubim, angelic figures, were stitched into the fabric by the hands of master craftsmen. This was the ceiling the priests saw when they looked up. Angels woven into fabric. Heaven stretched overhead. The 10 curtains were joined together by 50 golden clasps, forming one continuous canopy. The second layer was goat hair. 11 curtains, slightly longer than the first layer, joined by bronze clasps instead of gold. We're moving outward now, away from the glory. Goat hair seems rough and primitive compared to embroidered linen, but it was brilliantly practical. When goat hair gets wet, the fibers swell and seal, making it waterproof. When it dries, the fibers relax and breathe. Natural climate control. The Bedouins still use this material today. The third layer was ram skins dyed deep red. No dimensions given in scripture. It was fitted over the goat hair as insulation and additional waterproofing. Red, the color of blood, the color of sacrifice. Hidden beneath the outer layer, but present, always present. The fourth and final layer was the skin of the takash, most likely the sea cow or dugong from the Red Sea. Tough, weather-resistant, and a dull gray-brown that blended into the desert landscape. Here is the profound contrast. From outside the camp, the tabernacle looked like just another tent. Weathered hide stretched over a frame. Nothing special, nothing remarkable. You could walk past it and never guess what waited within. But step inside, gold everywhere. Walls of gold, angels overhead, light dancing on polished metal. The glory was hidden. You had to enter to see it. Feel the weight of those goat hair curtains being hoisted overhead. Hear the rustle of fine linen settling into place. Smell the tanned leather, the lanolin still clinging to the wool. From the outside, a tent. From the inside, a throne room. The structure was complete, frame and covering, bones and skin. But a house isn't a home until it's furnished. And before anyone could step inside God's house, they had to pass through a courtyard. A courtyard that smelled like blood. Before you could enter the tabernacle, you had to enter the courtyard. And the courtyard wasn't a garden, it was a slaughterhouse. The space was enormous by ancient standards. 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, roughly 150 feet by 75 feet. A fence of white linen curtains, 7.5 feet tall, enclosed the entire area, hung on 60 bronze pillars with silver tops. The white linen blazed in the desert sun, pure, clean, blinding. And there was only one way through it, a single gate on the east side, 30 feet wide, marked by an embroidered curtain of blue, purple, scarlet, and white. One way in, no back doors, no side entrances. You came through the gate, or you didn't come at all. The moment you stepped through that gate, you faced the bronze altar. It was massive, 7.5 feet square, 4.5 feet tall. Acacia wood covered entirely in bronze. 4 horns jutted from its corners. A bronze grating sat inside, holding the sacrifices while ash fell to the chamber below. This is where animals died. Every single day. Lambs, bulls, goats. Blood poured out on the horns. Fat sizzled on the grate. Smoke rose constantly toward heaven. The message was impossible to miss. You cannot approach God without sacrifice. Something has to die. Past the altar stood the bronze laver, a large basin filled with water positioned between the altar and the tabernacle entrance. And here is a detail that always stops me. The laver was made entirely from the bronze mirrors donated by the women who served at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Think about that. Mirrors, instruments of vanity, tools for examining your own face, were melted down and reformed into an instrument of cleansing. The women traded seeing themselves for the priest's purity. The priests were commanded to wash their hands and feet at this laver before entering the holy place. The instruction was absolute: wash or die. Breathe in the air of that courtyard, the metallic tang of blood, the smoke of burning fat, the sizzle of flesh meeting flame. This isn't beautiful. This is brutal. This is the cost of coming close to a holy God. Sacrifice, then cleansing. Then, and only then, could you approach the door. You've passed the altar. Blood has been shed. You've washed at the laver. Your hands are clean. Ahead of you, 5 pillars covered in gold frame an embroidered curtain rippling in the desert wind. Beyond that curtain lies the holy place, and only priests may enter. 5 pillars of acacia wood covered in gold mark the entrance. But notice something subtle. These pillars stand on bronze sockets, not silver. A transition point. You're leaving the courtyard of bronze and stepping into the dwelling of gold. Push past the embroidered screen and step inside. The temperature drops. The sounds of the camp, the animals, the children, the commerce, all of it disappears. There are no windows here, no natural light. The only illumination comes from 7 flames burning on solid gold. The room stretches 30 feet long, 15 feet wide, 15 feet high. Gold-covered walls surround you on every side, and overhead, the linen ceiling with its embroidered cherubim makes you feel as if heaven itself is watching. To your left, on the south side, stands the golden lampstand, the menorah. 1 talent of pure gold, 75 pounds, hammered from a single piece of metal. Not cast in a mold, not assembled from parts, beaten into shape by human hands, guided by divine design. A central shaft rises with 6 branches extending from it, 3 on each side. 7 lamps in total. Each branch is decorated with almond blossoms, buds, and flowers. The lamps burn pure beaten olive oil, and they never go out. Tended every morning, lit every evening. This is the only light source in the room. 7 flames dancing, reflecting off golden walls, casting flickering shadows across the space. To your right, on the north side, stands the table of showbread, acacia wood covered in gold with a decorative molding around the edge. 12 loaves of bread rest on its surface at all times, 1 loaf for each tribe of Israel. Every Sabbath, the priests replace the old bread with fresh loaves and eat what has been removed. This is the bread of the presence, literally the face bread. All of Israel represented before God's face every single day. Directly ahead, positioned at the center of the room, just before the great veil, stands the altar of incense. The smallest of the altars, just 18 inches square and 3 feet tall. Acacia wood overlaid with gold, with 4 golden horns at its corners. Every morning and every evening, the priest burns a special incense on this altar. The recipe is sacred, its formula given by God Himself, and forbidden for any other use. The smoke rises, drifts toward the massive curtain ahead, and curls under its edges toward the presence beyond. Stand there for a moment. Gold everywhere. Walls, lampstand, table, altar. 7 flames casting shadows that dance and flicker. The smell of incense thick in the still air. And ahead of you, a curtain, massive, heavy, embroidered with cherubim in blue, purple, and scarlet. Guardian angels woven into fabric, blocking the way forward. Beyond that curtain is the most dangerous room on earth, and you are not permitted to go. For 364 days a year, this is as far as anyone went. Even the high priest stopped here. But once a year, just once, one man would gather his courage, take blood in his hands, fill the room with incense smoke, and push past that curtain into the presence of the Almighty. What waited behind the veil? The veil was the final barrier, the last line between humanity and divinity. The same material as the inner ceiling, blue, purple, scarlet threads woven into fine white linen, with cherubim embroidered across its surface. Guardian angels, woven sentinels blocking the way, just as cherubim had guarded the entrance to Eden after the fall. The veil hung from 4 pillars covered in gold. But notice this: these pillars stand on silver sockets, not bronze like the entrance to the holy place. Silver, the metal of redemption. The closer you get to God's presence, the more precious the foundation. Beyond the veil lies a perfect cube, 10 cubits by 10 cubits by 10 cubits, 15 feet in every direction, and it is utterly dark. No lampstand here, no windows, no torches, no source of light at all except the glory of God Himself. Inside this darkness sits one piece of furniture, the Ark of the Covenant. A chest of acacia wood covered in gold inside and out, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, 1.5 cubits tall. Gold molding around its rim. 4 gold rings at the corners through which gold-covered poles are inserted, poles that are never removed, because the ark must always be ready to move. Inside the ark rest the stone tablets of the covenant, the law that Israel broke. A golden jar of manna, the provision that Israel rejected, and later Aaron's rod that budded, the authority that Israel challenged. Everything inside that chest represented human failure, broken commands, rejected grace, questioned leadership, all of it sealed away under the lid. But the lid is no ordinary cover. The mercy seat, solid gold, not gold over wood like everything else, pure gold beaten into shape, and rising from each end 2 cherubim hammered from the same single piece, facing each other. Their wings stretch upward and inward until the tips touch overhead. Their faces look down, always down, gazing at the space between them. That space, on that golden lid between those 2 angels, that was the place. The one place in the entire universe where God promised to meet with Moses, where His voice would speak, where his presence would dwell. This was his throne on earth, the intersection of heaven and sand. No one decorated this room. No one cleaned it. No one entered it except one day a year, and even then, only the high priest, and only with blood in one hand and incense in the other. The smoke would fill the space first, hiding the mercy seat, so the priest wouldn't see God's glory directly and die. Then he would sprinkle blood on the lid, on top of the broken law, covering human failure with evidence of sacrifice. There was no furniture to dust, no lamps to trim, just the ark, just the angels, just the darkness and the presence. This was the room where heaven touched earth, where the creator of galaxies compressed his glory into a space the size of a small bedroom. And between two golden angels on a throne made by human hands, God sat, waiting for the one day a year when blood would cover sin and a priest would survive his presence. The framework was built, the coverings were stretched, the furniture was placed, the courtyard was enclosed. Every socket, every bar, every curtain, everything was in position. The tabernacle was complete. But one question remained. Would he come? The first day of the first month of the second year. 14 months since the night death passed over Egypt. 1 year since the people stood trembling at the base of Sinai, while thunder rolled and the mountain burned. And now, finally, the work was finished. Moses himself performed the final assembly, not Bezalel, not the priests. Moses. The man who had received the vision would put the last pieces into place. He placed the silver sockets in the sand, erected the golden boards, inserted the bars to lock them together. He spread the 4 coverings over the frame, the embroidered linen, the goat hair, the red ram's skins, the weathered Takash hide. He carried the stone tablets and placed them inside the ark, set the carrying poles through the rings, laid the mercy seat on top. Then he brought the ark into the Holy of Holies and hung the veil to conceal it. He positioned the table on the north side and arranged the bread. He set the lampstand on the south side and lit its flames. He placed the altar of incense before the veil and burned the sacred incense. He hung the screen at the entrance to the holy place. He set the bronze altar before the door and made the first offerings. He placed the laver between the altar and the entrance and filled it with water. He erected the linen fence around the courtyard. He hung the gate. And Moses finished the work. He stepped back, surveyed what lay before him. Every detail exactly as God commanded. Not a cubit off, not a color wrong, not a socket misplaced. The work of his hands, the work of Bezalel and Aholiab, the work of hundreds of willing hearts. It stood complete. But completion was never the goal. Habitation was the goal. Would God accept it? And then it happened. The cloud. Not just any cloud, the cloud. The pillar that had led them out of Egypt, that had stood between them and Pharaoh's chariots at the sea, that had hovered over Sinai while the mountain shook. It began to move. It descended from the sky, slowly, deliberately, and it covered the tent of meeting. And the glory of the Lord, the Shekinah, the visible, tangible, radiant presence of the living God, filled the tabernacle. Moses tried to enter. He couldn't. Not because the door was blocked, not because someone stopped him, because the weight of glory was too heavy, too present, too real to push through. This was the same Moses who had climbed Sinai, who had seen the burning bush that wasn't consumed, who had stood in the cleft of the rock while God's goodness passed by, who had spoken with the Almighty face to face. Even he could not enter. This wasn't a vision. This wasn't God appearing briefly and vanishing. This wasn't a theophany or a dream. This was God moving in. They had followed his blueprint. They had built him a house. And now he was home. The impossible had happened. A tent made of desert wood and animal skins and melted Egyptian gold had become the dwelling place of the one who spoke the universe into existence. Heaven had touched earth. And the cloud would remain, over the tabernacle by day, fire glowing within it by night, a visible sign that God was present. For the next 40 years, wherever that cloud moved, Israel followed, and wherever it stopped, they made camp. The glory had come, and earth would never be the same. The tabernacle was not just a tent. It was a declaration, a statement that the God of infinite space wanted to live, not in some distant heaven, but in the center of the camp, close enough to visit, near enough to hear. Every detail was intentional. The bloody altar said, "A price must be paid." The laver said, "Purity is required." The veil said, "My holiness is dangerous." But the mercy seat, with its 2 angels looking down at the place where blood would be sprinkled, the mercy seat said, "Come anyway. There is a way." They built it with their hands. He filled it with his presence. Human craftsmanship, divine inhabitation. And for the next 400 years, wherever Israel went, God went with them, dwelling in a tent, traveling with his people, one board and silver socket at a time. Which part of the tabernacle struck you most? The engineering of the framework? The layers that
做个祷告，感谢神，我们读完了出埃及记，愿神祝福，愿神引领我们，与我们同在。将祷告祈求，奉主耶稣基督的圣名，阿门。